Hello and welcome to all beautiful souls out there. You're listening to the Restore My Soul podcast with Princess Millens, your favorite grief coach and emotional wellness specialist. In this space, we will help those who struggle with grief and loss and have real conversations about how to overcome it in every area of life. Through our personal stories, practical information, and wisdom from Princess and her special guests. We are here to educate, inspire, and empower you with the strategies you need in your emotional healing journey. We do not offer medical advice, but we believe that we can all learn to heal by creating a mindset to grow past our pain and push toward our purpose. Our goal is to remind you that grief is a journey and you do not have to walk it alone. No matter what the pain or loss is, you can be restored and live fully in your purpose. So let's push through the pain together as we share our stories of resilience, one episode at a time.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Restore My Soul podcast. I'm so elated that you're here and you're listening, you're watching from wherever you are. You know that this is a place where we educate and we inspire you on your emotional wellness journey. And I am your host, Princess Millens, your favorite grief and emotional wellness coach. And I'm just so blessed to be here to present this next episode, because I believe that we all can create that mindset that we can grow past our pain and push through to our God-given purpose. So that is the sole place for Restore My Soul, from my microphone to your ears, and from our guests who are so transparent about their journeys. And we have a special guest today, so very, very special to me. I had the pleasure of meeting her for the very first time. We had been Facebook friends or social media friends for a few years, and I had the pleasure of meeting her just quite recently in the last couple of months. Our guest today is Angelina Squire, and she is a mindset and mastery coach and a writer, a best-selling author. She is a life speaker. I would call her an empowerment speaker. And she is also a wife, a mother of 3 wonderful children, and her oldest is autistic. And I like to call that special abilities. All right. So Angelina's childhood pain and increased her burning desire to help other people and to no longer see other people hurting, right? Becoming a part of that solution in 2015, she began to help women clarify their thinking, grow into their potential, and regain balance, right? And this landed Angelina into the coaching seat. And in 2016, Queens Awakening LLC was born. And her drive and love to help families and help people who nurture special needs children overcome their personal struggles, Angelina and her husband created Unique Heart Foundation, right? They created the foundation, Unique Hearts Foundation, and that's for autism and various disabilities. And she gives these families a meaningful life outside of their disabilities to guide them in that direction. And so she continues to be an inspiration to everybody, even through her book projects and everything that she has going on in her community of people who she serves. So I want to welcome today to the podcast, Angelina Squire. Thank you so much for being here and blessing us today. We know we're going to have a powerful story today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I know we're going to have a powerful conversation. I know that you have a powerful testimony and a powerful story of some things that you had to overcome, some things that you had to push through, right? And we just want to make sure that, you know, we are in this place where we're helping others. So I love that about you. that every single day, in every single way, you're able to embrace and even serve other people, even through the pain that you have been through, right? And to give people strength and hope and the growth that they need to overcome life's obstacles. So I know there's so much, right? There's to unpack. So I just want you to kind of start off by maybe sharing some things with the audience about who you are and some things that you had to overcome in your life to be the coach that you are now.
Thank you. As she said, and thank you for that great introduction. If I had to sum it all up, who I am someone just like you who have journeyed through some hard places, right? I experienced universal pain, but it has a universal anointing. So I pray that after you hear some of the things that I've gone through today, that you can understand that for yourself, because the pain that I've endured, there are so many others enduring that same pain, but they are not at that place where they know that it's something, that God can actually utilize. So I had to journey through these dark places, and some of those places are, rape. I've gone through alcohol abuse, and also, as she mentioned, I have an autistic son, and I'm going to start there because with the birth of my son, we experienced negligent, right? But it was not our fault. So in my ninth month, I go into the doctor, a routine visit like we do when we're pregnant, and they discovered protein in my urine. So the doctor at that time, he said, well, you have what is called toxemia. And I'm like, okay, well, what is this? It's also called preeclampsia. And they say that it's something when you have abnormalities in the placenta. But as time went on, I went to, have my son. I ended up in full labor. I developed grandma's seizures while in full active labor. So I awakened, I'm in a room, I'm all by myself. I had no idea that my son was even born. And in that moment, I had lost my memory for a short period of time. And when it did come back, I'm looking down, at my stomach. My baby is gone. So I began screaming. And I'm sure that it was so violent, that this nurse, she ran so fast. I literally saw this white uniform just fly past the door. She was moving so fast and she came in and she said, what's wrong? So I was trying to say, where is my baby? Because my last memory was, you're in the hospital. The nurse say you're 2 centimeters. It's going to be a long night. But here I am, no baby.
Wow.
The only thing that quieted me down, she had 3 pictures of a beautiful baby boy. She said, let me introduce you to your son. For that moment, I was okay, but I'm still, confused. I'm trying to understand. He's not here with me. I'm in one hospital. He's in another hospital. Literally, I was fighting for my life still, even though, he was born. He was in another hospital, fighting for his life. He flatlined a couple of times. Ended up having seizures too after he was being born, and he suffered meconium aspiration. This is the first stool, of the newborn, and a mixture with amniotic fluid, and apparently he had gotten a significant amount more than what they normally see happen in babies. So he was in trouble. To fast forward, even in that, years later, I found out that it could have been avoided.
Wow.
But I didn't get that information or arrive to that point until the statute of limitation was out. So I felt so defeated. I hated God. I blamed God. right? Because at that time, God didn't have my life. I didn't have a relationship. I didn't know him then. But I didn't hate my son. I wanted the doctor to pay. I really wanted him to pay. So now here I am, 18 years old. I'm practically a baby myself, trying to raise a baby. And now I'm trying to figure out how, what I'm going to do with this child. But then when I get to that growth part, right, where I'm now healed from that, throw in, the aspect of my life where rape comes into the scene. And when that happened, it was so devastating because I knew the person.
Wow.
Good family, right? Someone I trusted. I didn't think that this would happen. So here I am again. I'm thinking, I had already healed from my son, but then here it comes, some of those same experiences, hate, angry, I felt, it was my fault. I blamed myself for so many years for this. And as it's happening, I felt this mental disconnect, right? But physically, I'm there while it's happening. And what made it even more so worse was that he was smiling during that time. And I turned my head to the wall, and it took me years to get to this place where I can say it without even breaking down to even say the word rape.
Yeah.
I remember saying, just let me die. Just let me die. I'm pretty sure it wasn't a long time, but to me, it felt like, forever. I just say, just let me die.
Yeah.
And the reason why I mentioned that, because that's one place where we have so many women, boys, and men who have become silenced, by that. And I went to the rape first before my home experience, with my father being an alcoholic, because that was my first place really of believing that a woman's voice doesn't matter. So although my father was, a great physical provider, loving man, when he had that part of him of alcoholism. And my mother would try to, intervene or, tell him, don't say these, nasty things, or down talk her. So I saw her become silent. So as that little girl, that was my first impression that a woman's voice carries no weight. That no matter what you go through, no one is going to believe you, so you're better quiet.
Yeah.
So in that moment of rape, I literally felt like that little girl, that if you say something, they're not going to believe you. And so I believed that. And that belief was true because I made it true, right? I believed it. And I blame myself for that. But through all of that, I realized that silence is really a faulty safety net. So, we think that, okay, if I just keep it to myself, it'll go away. I'll just keep it to myself. It'll go away.
Yeah.
It may go away for some time. It may go away for years. But let me tell you, it will come back with a vengeance.
It sure will.
Because like 15 years after that, I'm now married. Didn't tell anybody but one best friend. So it was just me and her only knew at the time. And I began having nightmares. So my husband would shake me up. He would say, wake up, honey, wake up. You're screaming. So I say, you're crazy. No, I'm not. Let me go back to sleep. But one night I screamed so loudly, but it was different this time. The rape came back. The memories came back. It was as if it was happening all over again. But I say this to say, I thank God for that moment, because now that became a safety outlet, letting me know it's time to say something. It's time to face this, because if you don't face something traumatic, it's just going to keep occurring. And you're actually mentally reliving it, whether you know it or not.
Yes, you are.
But I want people to understand that even though we go through something so painful in life, there is a place, there is a space and time where we can remember painful things, but without the anger attached to it, without the rejection attached to it, right? Without that pain attached to it. But it takes inner healing. It takes
Yes,
inner
it
healing.
does. Yes, it does, and that is such a powerful testimony of just going back the difficult birth that you had, the rape that you had to go through, the things that the challenges, the things even in your childhood. And this is what I know is sometimes that blame and guilt sometimes redirect our lives in such a way that we start responding in a way that it prevents us from healing, right? It prevents us from healing. And we begin to suffer in silence a lot of times. And so I believe that how we respond to something, it starts kind of, we learn how to respond in our childhood. So I heard you say about even how your dad was responding to you, and how that kind of silenced your voice, and how it kind of taught you indirectly that your words are not powerful, your words are not valuable, and things like that. And so as we respond or learn how to respond to the things in a healthy way, that takes some work, right? That takes some
Yeah.
work. So can you kind of talk about some of the work that you had to do behind after all of these things has happened to you? You're now in a marriage, right? You're now in a marriage where you were blessed to find this man of God. You were blessed to find him, and and you're still in this place where you're even having nightmares, right? So can you talk to us a little bit about the work that you had to do to be able to bounce back from those things and to get truly healed from the things in your past?
The work that I've done, I like to call it dirty work.
Okay.
And the reason why I call it, dirty work is it's really internal work. Because for years I found myself trying to fix me up outside, you
That's
know,
good.
put on a nice lace front, put your makeup on, put on your jewelry, you know, maybe I can pretend to be okay. Nobody would know, but
Listen.
that is a lie. That is it's really a prison cell for your potential, for your
Mm,
destiny, for your future. It becomes a holding cell of everything that God wants for you, but it becomes locked away because you're pretending, right? You're not whole. And a lot of times people think that, well, if I tell someone I'm hurting, if I tell someone I'm bleeding, if they know I'm mentally not good, they're going to think that I'm not good enough. They're going to think, well, I'm too messed up for God to use. I'm a living witness that no one is too messed up for God to use. So the first place I had to start with was forgiveness.
mm, that's
And
good.
it wasn't even forgiving the doctor first. It wasn't even forgiving my father first. It wasn't even forgiving my mother because I blamed her too, right? That was my mother. I was like, why didn't she save us? My brother and I, why didn't she save us? But see, part of that inner work, I had to also now understand that she was traumatized as well. So she can only do what she could do from that space. But forgiveness first started with me forgiving myself. Forgiving myself, for calling myself stupid, for feeling, shameful, forgiving myself for even blaming myself. I had to understand that we're not responsible for, how people treat us. That goes for our parents, our loved ones. Um, that's not my fault. You can't control anyone. But part of that forgiveness also came awareness. I had to really become aware that I was really messed up. There is no such thing as pretending, because one wound will expose another wound. That's why I talked about those different places in my life, because all of it's still intertwined together.
Yeah.
It all intertwined together, so that forgiveness begins first with yourself, right?
Yeah.
And another thing that helped me, like being, a special needs mother, I didn't understand that there is a level of grief when it comes to special needs mom. Because see, what happened when we talk about grief, the universal, I would say, thing that come up is you lost a loved one. You lost a loved one. Yes, that is true. But that's not grief all in one. There are different legs of grief. So with my son, right? Every mother, when we become pregnant, the only thing we have in our mind, we're not thinking about anything else. We know we're going to have this perfect baby, right? We know we're going to have this perfect baby. We're not expecting, anything to go wrong. So when life happened, right, we have to understand that we live in a world. We do have a real enemy. There are
Yeah.
things that's going on, and no, God does not cause your child to become artistic, disabled, whatever. I had to learn that, right? And within that, all of those images that we build up about the special need, well, before that, about our child, we see them going to college, we see them going to their prom, their first date. We have all of this planned out before we even meet this child. So then when you're hit with, oh, your child is going to be autistic.
Yeah.
At 3, he stopped talking. At 5, he was diagnosed as autistic. So when I healed and thought that everything was over, because he hit all his milestones, he walked on time, he crawled on time. At 2, he had words, he had full sentences. I thought, okay, clearly everything okay. But then 3, and like
Yeah.
everything went in reverse. So listen, all of those old emotions will come back, but I want you to understand, when those things come back, it does not mean that you're done, right? You're human. When you go through something traumatic, those images, those memories, they will come back. But if we do the inner work, if we really heal, right, they can come back without the pain. We'll begin to look more in what's going on and begin to say, okay, God, I'm here now. What can I do with this to help somebody else?
Oh, yeah.
See, the more you help somebody else, you're helping yourself. And that's what I began to do. I began to go on a treasure hunt. That's what I call it. So anytime that I'm hit with an opposition, guess what? It's no longer, oh God, why me? Haven't I suffered enough? I know a lot of y'all have said that, but no, it's now, okay, God, what's the treasure we finna dig up out of here now?
Yeah.
Because surely it's connected to someone else overcoming. So I now take all of that pain, all of that trauma, and there's so much more in my life, right? I'm still living, still human, still going through stuff. Like they say, life is still life.
Yeah.
But I look for the gems in it. I look for what can I do with it to better somebody else. And that's healing within itself. When you want to help somebody else, it really does become a bridge for you to cross over. And that's one of the healing parts, the last leg of it. And I have a whole system of it, but I would say that final bridge where you get to that point of where we said that you can have that memory of that pain, but no longer be, negatively affected by that pain and those toxic negative thoughts, right?
Yeah.
So getting back to that grief about the special need children, I had to understand that it was okay that I had this image of a perfect baby in my mind, but God showed me that I had to just change what my definition of perfect was and what it looked like. He said, you still have the same child, the same love. Everything you spoke of that child is still here, right? So pain, any type of trauma, it does not erase love. And that's the most important thing. And I would say self-love, self-care have to be at that top of the list. And it's doing it even when we don't feel like it. Because the more you do something, the more you become it. So just think about that. The more we are stressed out and overthinking, the more we're believing that we're not good and that we're doomed, that's the more what we become. So we have to be mindful of what we think, because it affects how we look at things. It affects what we begin to say. Then it pollutes our heart. Then it goes down into our spirit. And then we're not living in our purpose.
Absolutely.
So with all of that I said on today, my voice, right, is my purpose. The very thing that the enemy tried to silence, God is using. It's now a sounding board for other people. The alcohol, the drugs, all of those things come when a person has trauma, lack self-regulation, right? That they're looking for something. I need something just to take the pain away. Even if it's just for a moment, but the problem is still there and even bigger than when it started. And we're trying to feel this emptiness inside of us, this void that only God can feel, right? So we look
Yes.
for all these faulty things to help us, but they're not helping us. It's only keeping us bound again. And one place of hurt, when you're unhealed, it does have the capacity to just, it looks for another opportunity. It waits for another, painful place to come up in your life. And then it connects.
Yes, it does.
Connects.
And then that's why we have to really change our perspective on a
Yes.
lot of it. We have to change our mindset. We have to change our perspective and stop caring too much about what other people
Yes.
saying, because that is a point where we prevent ourselves from healing as well. Just like you were talking about the shell that we put on the outside, we
Yes.
want to put on that same smile. We want to buy a new wig. We want to get some eyelashes. We want to dress ourselves up on the outside, right? We continue to show up in places, but if people could only see the insides of us when we're going through that pain and we're going through that grief point, right? It doesn't match up. And so I'm so glad that you're here today to give us that encouragement, that, the way that we respond to our griefs, it can put us in I think you said a prison cell. It puts us in a prison cell for our future. And we don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We want to make sure that we are telling our story. And I agree with you. Sharing your story is healing. It's healing to you. It's healing to your soul. And we have to make sure that we're in that place that we are doing the work behind healing, no matter what we're going through, no matter how it looks, no matter what the outcome is, right? You and I are a testimony of God's goodness and his ability to pull us up and give us beauty for ashes, right? And
Yes.
so I just thank God for you and being here today to share your powerful testimony and give encouragement to other people that no matter if you have a special needs child, no matter if you've gone through even rape, if you've gone through alcoholism, no matter what it is, that you can use your story, right? And it can be a power to somebody else. So thank you so much for being here and share your story. Before we get off here, I want you to make sure that you tell everybody who how they can connect with you, how to follow you on social media, and all of that.
Okay. You can connect with me on Facebook and Instagram. It's Angelina Squire, so it'll be easy to find me. Or you can connect with me on my website, www.queensawakening.com, or you can email me, Angelina Squire at queensawakening.com.
All right. Well, thank you again for being here. And we are going to go ahead and end this segment of the Restore My Soul podcast. Thank you all so much for watching and listening in today. I hope you were blessed by this powerful testimony. And remember that we don't want to create that prison cell for our future by remaining in our grief and not pressing toward our healing. So y'all remember to follow me on all social media at Princess Millens and my website at princessmillens.com. You remember that grief is a journey, but you don't have to walk alone, okay? You're here every week on this podcast, and you're not walking alone. We're going to do it one episode at a time, and we will see you next time on another episode of the Restore My Soul podcast.
Thank you for joining another episode of Restore My Soul podcast. Be sure to listen and watch each week as we continue the conversation on how to bounce back from the setback of grief and loss and to become resilient so that you too can thrive in life. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any new episodes, and share this with as many people as possible so they can be encouraged in their emotional wellness journey. We invite you to follow Princess Millens on all social media platforms and on the website at princessmillens.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Restore My Soul podcast.